Hey everyone, it's a little bit of JoJo. Thank you for stopping in to my channel. I've been taking a lot of your feedback seriously, and I wanted to show you how to paint just a regular mandala. So we're starting out with an art stone mold. It's mold number 3 from the Happy Dotting Company. I have already base painted it with cobalt blue from Target's line, and we're actually going to be painting with the new penny from Target's paint line. So I showed before where the mold actually has the center, like a divot, so that you know where your center is. So we'll just start out with whatever size you want in the middle, and then start with your smallest dotting tool, and we're just going to do the tops, the sides, and then the crosshairs. And I did 8 dots for this one. Then you're going to take your small nail stylus, and we're just going to put 1 dot in between each of those small dots. And that just adds a little bit of fun in between, a little bit of interest. So move up in size and then nestle in a dot in between each of the dots from the previous row. So I tried to move my camera and I wound up blocking what I was doing. So I moved up in size to my next size stylus, and I'm putting a dot in between. Further in the video, the camera angle does get better and you can see a little more, so I do apologize about that. So go ahead and grab your next size up in the stylus tools, and we're going to add another dot in between those big dots. And what's going to wind up happening is we're actually going to increase in size all the way out, and that's what's going to create almost like that flower pattern. See? Pretty. So I went to my smallest dotting tool, and now I'm placing a dot after those dots in between, and go all the way around. So we're going to use the same dotting tool, and we're going to put 2 on top of each of those dots that you just did. So they almost look like Mickey Mouse, but that's going to be our base for our flower petals. So now we're going to move up a little bit in size, and we're going to start making our petals on each of these. So you can see this is where I mentioned that the camera angle change, so hopefully it's a little better for you guys and you can see a little more clearly what I'm doing. So don't push the tool all the way down. You want to load up just enough paint to make your dot and just touch the surface. If you push it all the way down, you lose paint and it almost creates like a vacuum, and then you have to go back over the dot again and do it again, and it just winds up looking funky. So now we're going to take our small stylus and we're going to start walking the dots. So you can see I dip it once and then I dip it again and I go around on one side, and then I dip it again in the middle and I walk it down the other side. It just helps it to build that top dot and make it look more like a petal. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but it's a method that I do like to do. Another way that I like to make petals is by using my transfer punch set dotting tools to make the top dot, so the dot that's at the top part of the petal, and then using my nail stylus tools to walk the dots around the edges. That makes it look really pretty. It's a little bit more consistent. And I don't know, it makes the petals look different. So play around with it, see what you guys think, see which method you like best. It also helps you to build your petals up in size. So I used my smallest piece from my transfer punch set, put a dot on the top of each of those petals, and then I'm using what I refer to as my quote-unquote medium-sized nail stylus tools, and I'm walking the dots down one side, and then I'm going to go back and walk them down the other. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know that I tend to walk my dots on the right-hand side of the dot. I'm not sure why I do that, but it's become habit. So I always do one side, and then I hold up the stone, and I go down the other side. I have not found that it helps me to be consistent. It's just the way I do it. Now, one way that you can be consistent is count your dots. I think these were 6 or 7. As long as you're within the same amount, or plus minus 1, I guess, you're going to be okay. I know sometimes people say, well, I get 10 on this one and 8 on this one. That's fine. It's art, you know? So we'll move up just like 2 or 3 in size to make our petals a little bit bigger. And the same thing, we're going to start with a dot at the top of each petal. I want to say, oh, yep, it's the fourth one, the 4th size up in my transfer punch set. And I'm actually shopping for some, like a standard set of tools. That way it'll be easier for y'all to follow along on my tutorials. So now I'm using my smallest in my transfer punch set, and I'm starting the petal, the top of the walking the dots with that. I hope that makes sense. So that helps keep the dots bigger, or excuse me, yeah, the dots and the petals bigger, and it helps when you're walking them down, you don't lose as much paint towards the bottom of the petal if you do it this way. So then we'll be going back to that tried and true medium size nail stylus, and we're going to walk those dots down. And there I go again on the right hand side. So just walk them all the way down right to the base of those 2 dots that we had put on before. So you can see I'm kind of wrapping around and hugging those 2 dots. You can really see the flower taking shape now. And I always say the dots tell me where they want to go. I think of a pattern in my head, and it always goes completely different than what I picture in my head. So we're going to use that same size of the nail stylus. We're going to put 1 dot on top of the bigger dots that we had done in the middle. We're going to do a little something in there. So now we're going to switch to our next to smallest one, and we're going to walk 2 dots, or as many as you can fit, on either side of those little dots that we put down. And once you're done with that, flip it to your smallest size and walk 2 little dots out from the top of those little mini petals. So then we're going to grab like a medium-sized tool from the transfer punch set and just put a dot in between those big outer petals. And just place them probably 2 or 3 dots down inside of the petals. If you think of it that way, it helps you keep them a little bit more uniform. So then we're switching to that fourth tool in the transfer punch set, and I'm placing 1 dot on top of those medium-sized dots that we just placed down. So once this is all done, I really wasn't sure where I wanted to go with it. Sometimes if you walk away, it helps you figure it out. But I used my small tool and kind of mapped out in my head where I wanted to walk some dots. And I'm just putting them almost like a chain from those outer dots to the outer petals. And I'm going on both sides. So you can see it really almost looks like a chain going all the way around. I guess that's the best way to describe it. So I really liked what it was doing, but I knew I needed more. So I grabbed my biggest stylus that I had, and I just wanted to walk some dots right on top of the chain effect that I had going on. So this is another instance where I dipped it in the middle, walked it one way, and then dipped it back in the middle and walked it the other way. So I really wanted to take a quick moment and thank you all for subscribing and watching my videos and liking it and sharing them and commenting. I promise you I read every single comment. I may not be able to respond to all of them, but I do read all of them, and I love you guys. Thank you all so much for following along on my journey and for just loving the videos. I never thought that I would be accepted so widely by a community. So thank you guys so much. I really do love each and every one of you. So you can see I just finish up those walking the dots outside of that chain, and I felt like it needed one more thing. So I took my small stylus and added a dot underneath each of those medium-sized dots. And, well, you know, it needs more dots. So let's go ahead and walk some spikes down. Well, I call them spikes, but to me they wind up looking like jewels that are hanging off the sides of the stones. So it's just that same size stylus that we used, and I'm just walking them down around the outside. And I love it. I love the way it looks. I'm going to wind up coating this in resin and calling it a day. So if you like it, make sure you hit the like button, leave me a comment, and subscribe. Thanks, guys.